Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the environmental impact of the Tesla Model 3, so if you're interested, stay tuned. So you'll hear from naysayers comments like, oh, Teslas aren't even good for the environment because electricity is generated from coal. Or, oh, didn't you know that the battery is made from lithium and lithium has to be mined from the earth, which isn't good for the environment either? So today I'm going to prove to you that driving a Tesla or an EV in general is less detrimental to the earth than driving an ICE car. So let's start with the first comment about coal. So currently in the US, only 20% of utility companies use full coal to generate electricity. Most utility companies today use as much renewable resources as they can, either because they're mandated to, or because they want to look good and care about the earth and do as much as they can to prevent, damage to the earth. So if we use my utility company as an example, good old PG&E, they use a mix of renewable energies, and it's about 50% renewable energies, and the other 50% is mostly natural gas and nuclear. And technically nuclear is green, but you have to bury the waste. So according to Reuters, if you were to power your EV by electricity generated from only coal, it would take you about 6 years to break even with an ICE car, but it's not very good for the environment, as you can see in the graph. I do think that having an EV that's electricity powered fully by coal is going to be a very low scenario. As I've mentioned, most utility companies do try to use a mix of renewable energies and fossil fuels. So getting into the future a bit here, I think in about 10 years, there's going to be a lot of utility companies that are using 100% renewable energy, and that's just because utility companies today are being more mindful of the earth and trying to keep this place alive as long as we can. On the second comment, mining lithium and other materials to make the battery for an EV is worse than an ICE car. If we wash everything else in the manufacturing process, including making the frames or making the seats or the brakes or something like that, then yes, it is a little bit more pollution heavy to create a battery from mining the lithium. And as we can see from UCS, we can see that the battery manufacturing piece does increase pollution just a little bit. And as we talk about anything in life, it's always about the end game of the product, not just what it takes to initially make it. And this is where the EV easily catches up with the ICE car in terms of total pollution. So as you can see over the life of the car, it's a 53% reduction using a mixed energy grid. And there are tons of examples and studies out there. Check out this graph from the EPA. The ICE car easily pollutes more than the EV over the life of the car. And of course, the main factor of all this pollution is tailpipe emissions. So every time you're idling in your ICE car, every second the car is on, you're polluting the earth. Whereas if you are in an EV, if you're idling, you're creating zero emissions, or better yet, if you're driving around, you're still creating zero emissions. And that's the reason why EVs are so much better for the environment. So again, yes, to create the battery and to create the car, there is a little bit more pollution, but at the end of the tunnel, there is way less pollution because of those tailpipe emissions. To this point, I specifically didn't use any of Tesla's impact reports to show that I'm being non-biased, but just for fun, here is Tesla's 2020 impact report, one of the graphs, and as you can see, it shows you the same information as all the other graphs I've shown. Basically, EVs are a lot better for the environment over the long run. And also just for kicks, to this point, I've also talked about energy being used from a mixed source energy grid. So like PG&E, it's about 50% renewable energy and 50% fossil fuels. But let's say you have a 100% renewable energy source at your house, like solar. So just like with Teslas, there are upfront costs for solar, but if you can afford those upfront costs, you're going to be saving a ton of money in the future powering your house and powering your cars. So if we look at the purple line on this graph, that's basically the line to show you if you have a 100% renewable source like solar at your house and how much pollution the car creates over the life of the car. And as you can see, that line absolutely destroys the ICE car line. And another nice thing about lithium is once the batteries are degraded enough where basically they can't be used in an EV, they can easily be repurposed for things like power walls and other electronics. So my point is, lithium only needs to be mined once, minimizing pollution. Whereas if you're drilling for oil, you drill for oil, it's used once, and that's it. So the proof are in the numbers that EVs are much better for the environment than ICE cars over the long run. So maybe next time you're debating with a naysayer, all you need to do is show them this video to prove that EVs are better than ICE cars. Let me know what you thought in the comments about the environmental impact of Teslas and EVs, and thanks for watching.